King Stone's version of one of my favorite songs, No Woman, No Cry by Bob Marley, as we transition into radical history. And Michael, why don't you introduce our guests?
Well, we've got a couple of guys here I've known for a while. One of them is Kermit Eby, who used to work at the Heartland Cafe, and he teaches history out at Naperville North. And in a regular way, for a number of years, he's brought groups of students to the Heartland, where Katie Hogan and I have talked to them about
life in general,
history, politics, what's going on, multiracial, this, that. It's been great, Kermit, and I am though glad you are retiring and you can go on and spread what you do to other places. And I'm really happy that you brought along your pal and someone who used to run in our Athletes United for Peace races on a regular basis, Ilhan Avcioglo, and he teaches history at Kenwood Academy. And the two of you have different kind of makeup of your classes, but you have brought one class to the other, both back and forth over the years. So why don't you tell us a bit about that, and then get down with telling us about how you present radical progressive history in respective schools.
How are they supposed to remember the first question?
What was the first question?
I don't know, exactly.
Well, when I started teaching in Chicago, I was from Indiana and lived in the city and taught at Gordon Tech High School. And when I got out to Naperville, I realized there was something missing. And so I looked for schools and friends who taught in the city to bring Naperville kids into the city. So we started way back in 1985 bringing kids to Senn High School. We've done student exchanges with Robeson High School in Englewood. We used to go to the Robert Taylor homes and work at an elementary school there with a dear friend of mine. And those kids would come out to Naperville, and it was always an idea that we should bring suburban kids into the city to see the problems and to meet the kids that they had heard about in the media. And Jonathan Kozol, I once heard speak and talk specifically about crossing that line that the media had created to divide us. And we had to step over that line and
Time
connect.
and time again.
Yeah, so that's how, and then Ilhan and I met later. And
yeah. So I think this was the first or second year that you were doing this with Naperville and Kenwood, and you met, what's his name, at your church?
Jason.
And it was, they just happened to kind of be in the hall, and I think they came in the classroom, and that's when I met Kermit, and it was like, this guy is just like me, but he's teaching at Naperville. So, we kind of hit it off, and then the next year Jason left, and I kind of picked it up.
To go to the suburbs.
Yeah. And so we've been
So you brought your kids out to the suburbs?
I brought them out to Naperville, and he brought his into Kenwood, and what we realized pretty quickly, and the students realized, that there wasn't this huge wall. I mean, they had a lot in common. I mean, racially speaking, they're very different, but in many other ways, they're very much the same as far as being
so
young people.
beautiful, I love it. Gives me chills.
And
America's already great.
Yeah, and they exchanged information, contact information, and many of them stay in touch, long after they leave high school. So.
Did you guys know about your Heartland link?
No.
Him through the running,
no,
and you.
No.
Okay.
Well, you're both athletes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, we did bring the students to Heartland one year.
Yeah.
Like the second or third year that I've gotten involved, maybe 2010 it was, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, there's a sharp. Kenwood is 98% African American, 70% on the lunch program. Naperville, when we started, was probably about 90% white, although now we're about 80% white. So we've.
Oh, it seems like you have a number of Latino and Asian students out there.
Naperville's now 30% Asian. But again, the idea was, and for Ilhan and I, because we both are students of Howard Zinn, and we seek to show the kids that American history goes much deeper than the great man history. And so the best way to intersect, I love that word, in feminism, right, to intersect the race, the class, and the history of Chicago and the suburbs, and show where we have the commonality rather than the differences.
Yeah. About 10 years ago, Oprah actually did a segment on this where she exchanged. There were students that went from Harper High School out to Neuqua Valley, also in Naperville. And for that, it was more of a, I think she was trying to do it and show it of 30 miles different, 30 miles west, you have a totally different world, right? A different mindset, showing test scores, showing resources. And, that's a reality, but I think what we try to do is kind of say, well, what are the similarities rather than what brings us together rather than what separates us. And whenever we have the students in the classroom, in terms of what we teach and how we teach it and the discussion that we bring forward, I think it's again trying to bring about, how can we come together and work together and improve, society and education.
What books do you guys use in school? I mean, I was yesterday going to go look for a Zinn book so I could come up with some pertinent stuff, and then I remembered an earlier book on the history of America, the American people by Huberman out of Month Review Press. Is that still around, that book? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm not
I
sure
don't
about
know,
that
but
book.
we use Howard Zinn's People's History of the United States, and we also use the Voices, which was something that came out just towards the end of Howard's life.
I saw people perform voices.
Yeah.
Wow.
At that conference last year on
Which conference,
McCormick
Kate?
Place. Yeah, I know he's going to do that because I'm struggling to remember. It'll pop up, one.
Do you?
On the drive
are there
home.
guides? Sorry.
I was going to ask about the other historian. Don't believe what you're.
Lies my teacher told me.
Lies my
On
teacher.
Lowen.
On Lowen,
Yeah.
yeah.
And he's a sociologist who has worked on sundown towns and
Yeah. That was.
Are you guys free to do what you want in class? I mean, or is it a risk that you take when you really bring up the progressive stuff? Like if you talk about Black Lives Matters in your class in Naperville, what do you got going? I mean, is there some? Clearly, your way you're acting, you've got a little bit of pushback on some issues.
So Ilhan and I were talking about that because how do you get tenure with long hair and a progressive view, right? And you have to lay low a bit, maybe. On the other hand, if you build a relationship with the community, and I have that, I have friends on the school board, I have friends in the central office, administrators, because I also teach AP, and so I teach the gifted and the talented, and those kids do really well. So it's not a question of your politics as much as your competence, or are you actually doing your job and allowing the kids to think? So my room, in both of our rooms, I think we allow a tremendous amount of student-led or
You brought me out there to talk one time about the Vietnam War, and your room was like going into a radical history museum.
Oh.
I mean, you had center spreads from various places, posters all over. I mean, it was pretty inspiring.
Yeah, I have an Abby Hoffman mask from back in the day, and we tried to get Bill Ayers to come out, and there was a big issue there. A lot of pushback.
Yeah, they didn't know me.
Yeah, exactly. So,
I would say that I did actually. I bounced around my first few years in CPS because I think I came in kind of wanting to change the world, and social justice and human rights I think were a disease for the department chair one of the department chairs I had early on, and so I think ideally you probably want to stick around a year or two and let people know what you have good motives, right? You're not in there, really saying, okay, well, I'm a communist, and here's what I'm going to indoctrinate the students, because I think that's the
I'm
fear
not,
by
by the way.
students. And I'm not either. But the point is that
I'm not either anymore.
but I think I think that as once they know what you're really about, you can get away with a lot, in terms of what you do in the classroom, and if you do it for the right reasons, and you're trying to open eyes of the students. I teach a course called Global Issues, and we do 9 units, ranging from media and politics all the way to race and human rights, capital punishment, environment, genocide. Just a lot of different, food. So we do a lot of different units, which some are very controversial. Human sexuality. We do abortion and again, race issues, and some of these are controversial subjects and topics. But I think again, if you do it the right way, and you kind of let the students almost lead where the units go and where the class goes, I think things tend to work out for the best.
and the parents have the kids' best interests in mind. Like we started the Gay Straight Alliance back in '99. And that was a big deal in Naperville, and there was a community meeting about it. And how dare you let these gay students come in and try to convert our heteronormative kids? And I've learned from the kids. We've had a feminist roundtable since 1992, and the feminist roundtable is still strong. We have 30 kids in that club, and they meet every Wednesday.
You said something at the beginning of your earlier answer that I think is critical to why you can do what you're doing, which is you have relationships.
Yeah.
And it's just something in this particular time under this regime that I think we're all relearning, whether it's the basic one-on-one relational meeting to start something new, or to renew something that maybe went sour because of electoral politics or sectarianism or whatever, you know school board members, you know parents, you know students. So if there's an issue about your personal stuff, they know you.
Yeah.
And that changes everything.
And even the conservative kids, like Michael Summers was a student of mine, and he was the House Boehner. He was Boehner's chief of staff, and now he's the president of a major Washington D.C. company. And Michael comes back to school, and he's still kind of whacked.
Are you talking Bannon or Banner?
No, his name is Michael Summers, and he's a great kid.
I'm confused.
Yes, and Boehner, right?
Oh,
Was it John Boehner?
John
Boehner,
Boehner, yeah.
And
Okay.
he went, and this is a kid who got real involved in politics, and he was my TA, he was independent study, he was an AP, and because we had a relationship, and we still do, I can go to DC and hang out with the right, I guess.
Great.
Oh, good.
Let me ask, both of you guys are athletes, and Kermit, that's one thing you didn't mention. You also were a soccer coach out there, which probably endeared you to some people. I'm wondering if
I just won a state championship.
if the students are, are receptive to your stuff. I mean, do some of them come to you and like you because you're an athletic dude, you're a cool dude? And Ilhan, I don't know if you do any coaching, but you were a serious runner at one point.
Yeah. I that was my original plan going into teaching. I thought, even if I don't like the teaching thing that much, I'll love coaching. But because of having long commutes, I did it for my first year or two, but just kind of dropped it after that. But I have done clubs. I've done a lot of clubs. I've done Model United Nations. I've done Close Up. I've done Gay Straight Alliance. I've done Amnesty International. I've done a ton of clubs that I've really gotten a lot out of. I think I've gotten as much out of it as the students have. So that, extracurricular activities.
Have you both influenced other teachers? Because I know, Kermit, you always bring a couple other teachers with you, and they are seemingly right in the fold with you on the content. Not all of them.
Well,
Maybe just around us when they come.
Dynamic, because the athletics is a perfect example. It's like for our urban history class, and that's a part of our curriculum. We take the kids on a 40-mile bicycle ride through the city, and I'll take 50 kids into the city, and we'll go through back of the yards, and we'll go through the west side. We stop at Garfield Park, and the kids actually get to see it. But there's also
This is your bike rides?
Yeah, the bike ride.
I remember delivering lunches to the Garfield Park. Yeah. And
it's
all these
crazy,
kids
right?
come
They were
right
starved.
up. I loved it.
Yeah.
It was freezing cold too.
Yeah,
I think it
and
was rainy as well.
We did it on a storm one time.
Yeah.
In the middle, and teachers wanted to cancel. I was like, no way.
No
And we're
way.
riding down by Lakeshore Drive, and the waves are hitting us. It's like, this is the city. And then you go through these areas, and people will say, what are you doing here?
Yeah, even my students, when they've said, Kermit's pointed out how taking students on bike rides through the west side or through parts that are a little bit rough, and even my students do sometimes come from these areas. I'm like, are you crazy? What are you
Yeah.
a group of Naperville students riding through these neighborhoods,
Yeah,
and
but-
Kermit's like, yeah, it's not a big deal.
I had a student who said, yeah, my mama saw a bunch of white kids riding through the west side, and they were, where are they from? But we're perfectly safe because our intent is just the same. We used to go to the Robert Taylor homes on a volunteer project, and I would have students, we'd just meet down there. This is like 94, and we would just, and thinking back, I'm going, what was I thinking? We'll just all meet down at this housing project, and we were fine.
Yeah, I mean, I taught for 25 years on urban studies, did very similar things. I just want to note that we're talking to teachers who teach with using the city as a teacher
Yeah.
and using the life around our students, all of them, as information highways to follow.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything more useful than that kind of teaching. And I want to ask, I know that Kermit, part of why you're here is that you just retired and you're moving into some other ways of experimenting with education.
And resistance.
Ilhan, are you still teaching?
I'm still teaching.
You're in there for a while.
Yeah, I'm in there for a while, probably another 8 to 10 years, I'm guessing.
I'd like to ask both of you what I ask other people is how you came to activism. I know that, Kermit, you come from a spiritual, religious background, Mennonite. There's an EB of famed name at the University of Chicago. I assume it's related to you.
It's great.
And Ilhan, you are interestingly from a Muslim Jewish background.
Right.
And I just wondered if you guys would share a little bit. I love that Muslim Jewish unity thing that's going on these days. If either or both of you would just talk a little bit about your how those things moved you.
Want to start?
Yeah, I'm an Anabaptist. I consider myself a neo-Anabaptist marginal Mennonite. So,
Wow, I'm not even gonna repeat
yeah,
that.
but I belong to a Mennonite church.
I followed what you were saying.
Yeah, it's good, yeah. Because Anabaptism was in the Radical Reformation, the radical Christian response to Catholicism. And there's a long line of that. I can go back to 1704, but my grandfather left the farm and became a CIO activist in Michigan. He got fired from his first teaching job, and he worked for the CIO, got fired, then he worked for the American Federation of Teachers in Chicago, got fired, and then he got picked up at the University of Chicago, and that's where he ended up teaching. But he was called in front of the House on Un-American Activities. He visited Hiroshima 2 months after the bomb with other leaders.
Whoa.
So, yeah, and I still have films of that.
Whoa.
And so that's been instilled with the name Kermit III. You can't really avoid it. That's why we named our son Ezra.
Not the fourth. Huh?
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's very. And my daughter is a professor of linguistics at Albany University. My older daughter, and she's carried that on, and hopefully all of us will. So I mean, yeah, you have to stay committed despite the fact that it's going to get beaten down.
Yeah, and for me, I think, like you mentioned, I think having that background and then higher education really opened my eyes. I mean, I went into a class and, it was a Middle Eastern class, and I think I said something about, coming from a Zionist background, whatever, the rhetoric. And I made some kind of statement, and they all kind of looked at me like, are you crazy? And I think there was these little, and then different class I took in grad school kind of opened my eyes and made me start, seeing things from a totally different perspective. Of course, Howard Zinn, Z Magazine, I have to give a lot of credit to.
Yeah.
This is right when I was getting into the classroom when I got out of grad school. So that really kind of started me on a path, which was how do I educate and inform them without, just. Again, I'm not trying to say you have to be this,
Right.
that.
That's
Just
important.
exposing them. I want to expose them to things that it took me till grad school to be exposed to. How we hired the Nazis after World War II. They came to work for the United States government. So those kind of things. Anyways, yeah.
Not to put too fine a point on it, but using the city and the metropolis as a classroom, I think is probably also accomplishing something else. And that is how you are connecting communities that don't see each other.
Yes.
We may be in a big city, but there are kids in the west side who've never seen the south side, or
Right.
even the neighborhood next door.
Or even the lakefront.
And there are people in Naperville who've never seen Oak Park, much less the urban cities you're talking about, and what a difference there.
Yeah.
And they have to go through Maywood
Exactly.
and Hillside and all that to get to Oak Park in the west side.
Right.
So talk a little bit about that part of your Socratic method of sort of laying it out there and seeing what kind of questions come back.
So for the suburban kids, they always talk about how they live in a bubble, and that bubble is something that they need to escape. And I have so many students who are now teachers, activists. They come back all the time to talk about how the classes influence them. In our urban history class, we have 11 sections. We have over 300 seniors enrolled in the class, and it's an elective. So they know that what we're doing is going to open their world up, and that's why education is a threat to.
Damn good
power.
legacy there,
Yeah,
Kermit.
yeah,
Good.
yeah.
And then for me, I think again, just the long trip. It's a good hour plus bus ride, and I know I kind of try to prepare them a little bit. And some of them, I think, are a little concerned. What's it going to be like, or what? Is this going to be fun? Is it, And we get out to the school, and it's just huge. It's humongous, and the fields and the campus, and it's just. And then
Great
we walk
gym.
in. Yeah, we walk in, and
Two.
there's basically no security. They don't have to go through a metal detector, and they don't see any basically police or security
Poor
around the whole
kids.
day. And
Yeah.
and they just see, it's just a totally different experience, and they get to see when you have resources what a school can look like and what a community can look like.
Well, clearly both of you guys have influenced a lot of students. Have you influenced other teachers?
Well, you said that before.
I know, but I want to get a closer answer to it. I mean, what do you got going on at Kenwood?
Yeah.
Are there a number of progressive student teachers there?
We haven't had too many student teachers lately, and I'm not sure why, other than the fact that I
They're
think
trying to close down the public schools.
Well, and it's
Yeah.
also, I think, our valuations, like with student test scores. So students take tests at the beginning and then at the end, and some teachers are concerned if we have a student teacher come in for 3 or 4 months, how's that going to affect the scores? I'm always open to it. I still, if the principal would call me down and said, hey, are you open to the student teacher? I'd say absolutely.
But do you have any teachers, fellow teachers that have been moved, you think?
I think a handful. I think it was much more so maybe 10 or 15 years ago. It seems like, I think since No Child Left Behind and a lot of the education programs and how they've moved, I think a lot of the student teachers and the teachers that come in, unfortunately, are so kind of focused on, again, skills and not so much on content.
The test issue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
and
it's
then the Pearson
not,
company that now the student teachers have to go through, they have to pay. I mean, student teachers have to pay. Accountants get paid to become accountants.
Right.
Teachers have to pay tuition.
Right.
I've had 20, 25 student teachers in my career, and most of them have gotten jobs. And they're a little bit more stealthy than I, because you have to be. We've had a lot of student teachers who got hired at Naperville North. They want to have this open curriculum, but then they're mandated for this test.
How about your fellow teachers, though? Are there progressives?
Oh, yeah, I would say teachers are for the most part. I mean, I don't want to out anybody.
Why not?
So what's next? What's next for you, Kermit, and how do you see your own activism going in the immediate future?
Well, yeah, I mean, that word resistance, I mean, we have to resist the move to take away food from public school kids. I mean, it's obscene. We also need to work against testing and mandated curriculum. I'm not saying that what's the national program is under Obama.
Race to the Top.
Yeah, Race to the Top, and all those programs that seem to take away. I believe in empowering teachers. That's the bottom line. Teachers know what we need to do. There's way too much emphasis on athletics, on the college level and the high school level, and the club. I mean, we could go back to that athletic component where kids have to be in a club and they specialize and they spend thousands of dollars to become an athlete rather than a thinker. On the other hand, I love the beauty of physical education. We can't dismantle PE in Illinois because these kids need it. So again, I would go back to this idea that teachers need to be empowered, and granted that teachers should be doing peer reviews of fellow teachers.
And I would say the same thing. I mean, again, I'm going to be in the classroom a while longer, and I want to try to empower both teachers and students. And I would like, kind of how Zinn was, bottom up rather than top down, right? When you have administrators and people that have no background at all in education mandating and saying this is what you need to do in the classroom, rather than the teachers, who've been trained in this field, kind of deciding and determining what they need to teach and what they should teach, what's appropriate to teach.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I plan on going with my education.
You guys are very inspirational. What you've done is so magnificent. I know that you hear from your students. As a former teacher, I know that we don't hear from them long enough, but shine on. And speaking of athletics in schools, Northwestern, right on, let's go Wildcats. And Capital Switchboard numbers 202-224-3121. Save your health care.
Definitely. Amen.
Our thanks to everyone today, including Drew Jensen on the boards, and we want to go out with a little music from Emma's Revolution in this time when we seem to be beating the war drums again. It's so important to remember another part of life.